business and we'd be in the new business, and at that point in time is when we'd actually make the decision to hire tonight or not hire tonight.
So then you tell Chuck, thank you, and go home, and we'll contact you.
I think for tonight, yeah. If you have anything else you want to close with, Chuck, you
well, I just said, do you have any questions? I mean, I've been sitting here, I mean, it's more about me talking about me than you guys asking me. I mean,
very informal.
You answered my questions. Well, I didn't have any tough questions.
Okay.
I don't think any of us got no tough questions.
All that studying I did and everything.
As far as trying to...
You were ready.
As far as trying to pin you down on how you'd do this or do that, I think that would have to be done during the executive session, and that'd be a client.
Once we get into
right, and that would not be part of this. So at this point in time, unless you guys have any other thing you want to...
Pretty much explained everything I was even thinking about, so.
Like I say, probably the biggest problem I have is being the distance from here to there and back again.
And we kind of went through that, the plus and minus of that.
Right.
You know, it's unlikely that I will be
is your office on this side of Wenatchee or the other side of Wenatchee?
It's right on the river.
Right on the river.
Smack in the middle of.
In the middle of the Wenatchee.
Right on the Columbia River, in between both. That's probably closer to this end. Just a smidge.
Trying to get an idea of what it would cost.
How fast I drive.
Do you know a good lawyer?
No.
Technology's pretty fast.
Yeah, no, no, it is. That's an issue, and like I said, we want to wait until it's perfected better than it is right now, and we see that in a year or two, to where we can electronically appear more frequently, and then then it cuts that issue completely out of it. Otherwise,
So you anticipate that happening within a year or two?
We do, and then we're gonna roll it out with select clients, because there's a cost component associated with it. There's a cost on our end, which we of course would consume. There's a cost on your end, which we would look at. I mean, is this a long-term relationship? If it is, it's not a big deal. I mean, a flat screen monitor is pretty inexpensive. It's the computer technology that goes along to dedicate it to that kind of a connection. Because Skyping, I mean, I've not done it frequently, but it's not good enough right now. There's a little bit of a delay and things. So if you're having a public meeting, it'd be a little bit awkward to do that, meeting with the public. So that particular client's not a public client or a co-op. So. But they function not dissimilar to how you do, except for the not being a public entity.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate your time.
Thank each of you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you much.
Back again.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Do we have a letter from Harold Moberg or anything?
A letter from Harold, and then I responded to it.
Okay.
Could you read it into the record?
No, but I'll have it read into the record. Kelly, I'll let you go ahead and read it there if you would.
And the second one first.
Okay, the second one, is that the one Harold sent me?
It's a letter dated March 23rd, 2012. Dear gentlemen, I was advised by Director Mick Hansen that I would be receiving an invitation to interview with the Board of Directors regarding providing legal services to the district. As of this date, I have not received a request for an interview, and although I am interested in serving the MLIRD Board, I would respectfully decline an interview in a public meeting to preserve attorney-client privileges. I was born and raised in Grant County, Washington, and have spent the last 25+ years practicing law within Grant County. I am aware of the challenges that the MLIRD faces and believe I have the abilities to assist the district and provide competent legal services as required. My billing rate is $225 per hour and would be pleased to serve as legal counsel for MLIRD I look forward to hearing from the district regarding a professional services contract. Very truly yours, Harold J. Moberg.
The rate was $225.
$225. And again, this is what, $260?
Under 45.
Did
$245?
you want his response read also? Okay. Ready? Okay, this letter is a response letter from Kurt Carpenter dated March 27th, 2012. Dear Mr. Moberg, the Moses Lake Irrigation and Rehabilitation District received your letter dated March 23rd, 2012 on March 26th, 2012, and it will be shared with the directors at the special meeting Mr. Hansen advertised for tonight. Mr. Hansen self-appointed a new secretary to the board of directors who began her responsibilities March 13th, 2012. Although Mr. Hansen asked office staff to take care of scheduling an interview time for you at 5:30 p.m. March 27th, 2012, Julie Smith, administrative assistant, reminded him on 2 occasions, March 19th and March 22nd, 2012, that she was no longer secretary to the board and suggested he have the new secretary take care of those details. Your letter states that Mr. Hansen had already spoken with you about the planned interview process. On March 22nd, when Ms. Smith reminded Mr. Hansen of the need for proper notices and scheduling of your interview time for the second time, Mr. Hansen told her, quote, it has been taken care of, quote, kindest regards, Kurt J. Carpenter, General Manager, MLIRD.
So what's that about, Mick? It's been taken care of.
I'm trying to see what was taken care of. As far as the scheduling, the notification of the paper, that's what I was referring to when I said it was taken care of. As far as who does the notifying here, I don't know. We got real conflict here when we got staff that can do it, and we got secretary of the board. But regardless, I don't think that probably is the issue here. The issue is,
Yeah, we need to stick with what we're here for, right? So,
right,
talking about Mr. Moberg.
I was expecting that it would come from the irrigation district, but
Well, I've known Harold for a long time. I went to school with him. I've never used him for any kind of law or legal aid. I do know that Harold is a really good lawyer, and I believe he's very honest and knows his stuff. I do like the fact that he's local, and that he's aware of what's been going on down here, and with the whole irrigation district for years and years and years. I also think he does a great job. I mean, we're going to save a ton of money on just the traveling. We're talking $500 a meeting, basically, figuring an hour each direction. Am I right?
well,
So that's,
I'm guessing that he's probably not going to cut it right to the minute trying to get here either, so I don't know. I know that
I know it's at
when
least an hour.
we had Delabar hired, it was almost a minimum of $1,200 regardless if it was a half an hour meeting. And
So,
that was my problem with Delabar, is the fact that,
and Chuck here, I mean, Chuck's got a lot going too. I mean, the guy really has got a lot of,
yeah.
he's got a lot of experience in that kind of thing.
Well, I think we're here to do the interviews at this time, not make the decision at this time. So I would say that his letter be put into the records.
Okay.
And maybe it's my fault that he's not here. I was assuming that he'd be getting a notice from the irrigation district, but
I wonder if he was thinking that maybe it was gonna be during a meeting or something, the interview was gonna happen.
Well, what's this deal about he doesn't want to do this in a public forum?
That's kind of
Well-
that's where I get that from. That's what makes me wonder.
well, he was expecting that there was gonna be this open to the public and there's gonna be a whole mob of people here, like a lynch mob, like when we have our regular meeting, that he was gonna have to face, and quite honestly, I don't think that he really wanted to face the lynch mob at that point in time, so
You call our audience members a lynch mob.
I can refer to it kind of at that point sometimes.
been kinda
How
rough.
disrespectful.
Well, you can say what you want, but
That's kind of what I'm getting from the letter, what I read too, you know, that he didn't wanna have to try to explain himself. I mean, in our meetings, we've allowed the audience to participate a little too much
But we
sometimes.
discussed that before. We discussed that this would not be a public hearing. We would not be taking any public testimony or comment. That's what Chuck even mentioned, you know, that it needed to be in open session, but because it's not a public hearing, we don't have to take public testimony. And it's up to the chairman to see that we don't. So it's very simple. I just don't understand. And especially when you've talked to him already. I don't know, how much have you talked with him about?
I told him that, that we'd be having this interview, and that was not that long ago. I mean, that was, and he said he had conflict for today, but hoped he could get out of it by tonight, so he didn't know for sure that he could.
He said he had a conflict for today.
Well, yes, he said he was gonna be in a hearing today.
And when did you know that?
When did I know that?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that he was gonna send the letter, or what he was gonna actually do, but I knew that about a week ago. So,
So you've been in touch with him several times?
one time on this issue here.
Well, no, he's already mentioned that you talked with him earlier.
Right.
That's why he sent the letter. So you talked with him more than once.
I haven't talked to him since he sent the letter, I don't think, I'm not sure exactly.
March 2nd, 26th.
26.
I didn't say that, I just said, how many times have you talked with him? I mean, you could have conveyed the fact that we had this going tonight, and you could have told us if he wasn't.
Well, Ron, I don't have to tell you anything as far as where I'm standing here. The thing of it is,
Mick, for the betterment of the district, you know, there needs to be some communication.
right, and
That's what I'm
I
saying.
thought we had the communication coming from the irrigation district. We've got real conflict here when we got a secretary sitting over here, and I'm assuming you're being paid.
I'm not a secretary.
Well, I don't know why you're even here, quite honestly, Julie.
I'm running a program.
Huh?
I'm running the program,
You're running a program.
the program,
The recording.
the recording program,
So
FTR.
you're here to run the recorder. I think if that's your sole purpose for being here is to run the recorder, I can,
I don't think this discussion is really about me right now, is it?
well,
We got a whole bunch of
I-
business here that I do handle for the district, and I have a right to be here for that as well.
you
But
have
that's
a, you have a
at the
right to
7
be
o'clock.
here.
That's the 7 o'clock.
Well, we're here to talk right now, we're talking about lawyers, right? Between Harold.
And my question to you was, how many times have you talked to him? And,
Doesn't make a difference.
you know, how much,
I mean,
the only reason it makes a difference, if you've got a line of communication open with the guy, then you could have let him know that we had this scheduled tonight, he needed to be, if he wasn't gonna be here, let you know,
Yeah.
you could let us know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at.
That's what I'm saying right here. He did write the letter and explained, and he would not be able to be here.
He didn't, I don't believe it says that, I think.
Well, when you got this letter, when did you get it, Kurt?
Yes, he's a letter.
Yesterday?
I
You know,
guess
even
whatever
if Kurt,
day
even if
that-
Kurt would've called, either, any one, three of us, and let us know what's going on, we would,
Well,
been
it's-
aware.
It was already advertised to me.
I understand.
Well, I think we need to recess.
If we'd have had some kind of a notice, we could have probably called Harold, at least got a clarification. One was good.
I think we need to recess until 7 o'clock. And we'll meet back here at 7 o'clock and start. the
This
meeting.
goes in the record.
Do you need copies of the Zoom?
That is the original, yeah. I'll give you copies for the record.
All right, we'll reconvene at 7 o'clock. Okay. Here. So let's go ahead and call to order. And for the records, all three of us, as far as good. Board members are here and this meeting is being recorded. Did anybody get the elevation of the lake? Any? Okay, nobody.
The internet's down.
Internet's down?
Okay. We'll keep moving on down here. We'll try and move pretty fast tonight if we can. We've got several things to take care of. The approval of the minutes of the last 2.5 meetings. I understand that Kelly, you turned the half of the meetings in the district.
The last meeting that I was here, I turned in Monday morning.
Turned them in, but the last meeting we were talking about going in here and scratching out a lot of the information. We had 76 pages on that first meeting, and I would like to, at this time, make sure that these minutes are presented at our next meeting so we can go ahead and have the information taken out of there that is basically filler as far as I'm concerned, and move that all be taken care of and be presented at our next meeting then.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
What's your point?
Secretary has the authority and is given the direction to take the minutes of the meeting. If you'll read Robert's rules, it indicates that audience members are to be included, and you either give a brief synopsis or write down verbatim what they have to say. So you as chairman, nor we as a board, have the authority to go in and start just deleting things like you've done with those minutes.
It may be
Ron?
true, it's still up to us to approve them.
Well, that's right, it is, but,
Yeah,
but you
Ron,
have, excuse me,
I think you're out of order.
no, I'm not out of order. You have no right to go in
Well,
and
you've
change.
talked back and forth here twice, and I haven't even got a chance to get a word in here,
I know, I raised my point of order.
okay?
The point of it is, you read Robert's rules and it'll tell you.
And I know exactly what Robert's rules say.
I don't
They
believe you
take, they
do.
take the information, and you do not have to put in all the rebuttal that goes on during that period of time. If you want, Kelly, have you got it right there in front of you? Would you like to read that to him, just to kind of confirm what I'm saying here?
Yeah, it's on, I don't know if we may have it, page 247.
Yeah.
The minutes, the record of the proceeding of a deliberative assembly is usually called the minutes or the record or the journal. The essentials of the record are as follows. A, the kind of meeting, which regular or stated or special or adjourned regular or adjourned special. B, the name of the assembly. C, the date of the meeting and place. D, the fact of the presence of the regular chairman and secretary, or in their absence, the names of their substitutes. E, whether the minutes of the previous meeting were approved or their reading dispensed with. The dates of the meetings being given when it is customary to occasionally transact business at other than the regular business meetings. F, all the main motions, except such as were withdrawn, and points of order and appeals, whether sustained or lost, and all of the other motions that were not lost or withdrawn. And usually the hours of meeting and adjournment when the meeting is solely for business. Generally, the name is recorded of the member who introduced a main motion, but not of the seconder. In some societies, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's all it says. And it has a sample of the form of the form of the minutes may be as follows, and it has an example.
Kelly, I need to know what article and paragraph you're talking about. We're not using the same.
No, mine's
the same.
old.
Mine is new. So.
Well, mine's new also, Ron, and.
I'm asking her if she will give me that information. I have the right to ask.
Okay, it looks like it's Article 10, Section 60.
Okay.
It's entitled The Officers in the Minutes.
If you want to take a minute, I'll go out and I'll get my Robert's Rules of Order as well, and.
Go ahead, you can note your meeting, I'll look it up.
Okay. Anyway, I'm asking that the minutes be cut down. We don't need 76 pages of minutes for one meeting, and I think they need to be cut down. At least get the chatter out of there that is not significant as far as the motions and the seconds and what was actually transacted. That is.
I read through it, it took me hours to read the dang thing, and there's a lot of stuff in there that really had nothing to do with the meeting. It was just
Yeah.
audience talking, and it was almost word for word what was going on.
Well, I think it is word for word.
Yeah.
I think it's a verbatim transcript.
Let me read
Mr.
this.
Chairman, first of all, it's not verbatim, and, second of all, I think Ron has.
This is the page, I was trying to find it
I
here
was newly
quickly.
revised.
Minutes to be published. When minutes are to be published, they should contain, in addition to the information described above, a list of the speakers on each side of every question with an abstract or the text of each address, in which case they may be called proceeding transactions or the like. In such cases, the secretary should have an assistant. Well, in the past, we didn't have an assistant, we recorded it. Now, that does not say what Kelly just read.
Well, Kelly's reading it right out of Robert's Rules of Order.
And so am I, out of the most recent edition.
You know, I've been to these meetings now for going on 3 years, and you could take all the meetings together we've had in the last 3 years, and they wouldn't be that big.
I realize that, but the point of it is, they're done, they're completed. Now, I'm not saying that they have to be in that detail in the future. I'm saying we do not have the authority to go back and change those. We can go back item by item and amend it if you want, but for Mick to just go through and start marking out things, you don't have that authority.
I'm asking for that authority.
You-
Well, and sorry.
You're saying it's a point of order, I am ruling you down. If you wanna challenge it, say so, and then we'll take a vote on it.
Okay, I'll challenge you.
All right. I'm saying that we have the authority as a board to go ahead and strike this out. And if you're agreeing with me, then all in favor, say aye.
Well, a little discussion.
No, the appeal goes to the audience.
No, it does not go to the audience.
It goes to the audience.
It does not go to the audience.
I don't
Point
think-
of order, you are the board is in control. Chris Reese told you the board is in control. We are not in any control and we do not vote. You have been voted in, you are the board and you decide what's happening. That is the way the meeting should be run.
It goes to the body, and the body is the audience members sitting in the room.
Let's start raising our hands here. If we're gonna talk, let's start raising our hands like we're supposed to be doing here. If you're gonna be strict on the rules, then let's go ahead and raise our hands and ask to be appointed.
Okay, I'm not gonna accept these as written. I mean, there's things in there that, when I read through it, that seem to be opinions, that were made by, not necessarily the audience, but by us, by Julie, by whoever. And some of that stuff just doesn't apply. I mean, it does nothing to do with our meetings. There's a whole lot of stuff in there that's just,
I left 3/4 of it in there. And so, when you go through there, you'll see that anything that really pertained to the motion or anything that pertained to anything, there's a number of pages that I didn't touch a thing, and I'm saying that we're probably gonna end up saving maybe 10, 15 pages out of the whole thing. But nevertheless, there's just way too much word for word taken in there.
Can I clarify something? That was under the regular minutes section. There's a section that says minutes to be published, which I believe is what you were reading, which says, and I don't know in the past what you guys have done, but that is where it's a strict record of what is done, list of the speakers on each side of every question with an abstract of all addresses, everything. So have you done that in the past for all minutes?
Pretty much, yeah.
don't think so.
But, you know, our meetings have not been nearly as confusing as these meetings.
Okay,
Since
that's what I'm
Mr.
saying,
Chairman's
there's a
been-
difference, so that's all.
Here's what I want to read. Here's what you took out. You eliminated the audience members, you eliminated much of their comments, you eliminated a lot of your responses, and several instances, when you call people out of order, you eliminated that. You eliminated some untruthful facts that you stated, and you eliminated the lack of proper decorum as a chair. Now, I don't think those need to be eliminated. That happened. That was part of the meeting. They need to be in there.
Well, point out which one you're talking about here, Ron, and we'll go ahead and put her back in. I don't have that
We're not
big
gonna
problem.
vote
I
on
do
it
have a problem
tonight.
with 76
Yeah.
pages of legal-sized paper, recording this in word for word, basically, and that's my problem, and I will not accept a set of minutes like that.
Well, we're gonna vote on them next meeting. I guess we'll do it then.
I think
Yeah.
if anything else, maybe Julia will sit down with this one next revised, take a look at it and come up with a different option, maybe rewrite so that I mean, it's just too much.
This was her job.
I understand.
You hold your hand up.
I don't agree.
All right, you don't, but this was her job,
I understand.
and she did it that way.
She didn't do it that way for 2 years ahead of time.
We never went into the detail 2 years before.
Didn't need, no, we didn't. So now, why are we now?
Well, look at our meetings now.
I understand, but it doesn't make any
Okay.
difference. The details don't need to be there. It just needs to be what we accomplished.
We have a
discussed.
motion on the floor, right?
You made a motion,
You got this?
that it'll all be taken care of and presented at the next meeting with changes. Is that it?
I'd be more than happy to sit down with anybody.
Let me, suggestion. Why don't we have, first name?
Kelly.
Kelly. Why don't we have Kelly take a look at it and have her read through it?
Well,
and
then
maybe
we're
decide.
getting into a conflict between two
That we can't do
different.
that because we're.
I think the conflict better stay between us. I don't want to put Kelly in the middle of this question. I understand where you're coming from, but I do not want to do that. I will go out, why don't I just take a minute, go out and get my Robert's Rules of Order, exactly how they say that it's supposed to be done, and you can read it, Ron.
Mayor,
Go ahead.
you know, you guys are gonna vote yes. I'm gonna be outvoted, but I'm gonna stick with my negative vote. There's no need to go out there and do that. We all know the outcome here, so just go ahead and take the motion and do it.
All right. You're gonna second the motion then?
Yes, I will. I'll second that motion.
Okay. I will, once again, sit down and we can go over with Julie, if we like. Julie?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say something here.
Yeah.
If there's something in those minutes that bothers you or you didn't want in there, it happened. It's recorded. It's there. I don't feel the need to change it. That's my job to do it. I did it according to the latest version. I really don't at this point. It's not my job anymore. I'm done. And that's the minutes. That's the way they were taken.
Well, then,
And they match the recording. So if there's something in there that bothers anybody
I'm
with
just saying
said,
they're way too long.
but you need to also understand that you dropped all decorum in the January meeting and you opened it up so people who raise their hand and you recognize them to speak, that's what's there.
I know that,
Okay.
I know that, and that's
Okay.
not what's supposed to be there. You're supposed to have the transactions of what happened, the
They're in
motions, the
there.
second.
They're in there.
They're in there, they're in there. I don't deny that. I'm just saying that, we got so much filler in there that, 76 pages? That's ridiculous.
Your meeting,
I mean, sure, we can approve them. I don't know why we wanna leave it that way though, quite honestly. I just, feel that there's so much of that in there that had nothing to do with the motion, the conversations get sidetracked and everything else. I would be more than willing to sit down and go over anything that you felt that should have stayed in there with you or Jeannie or anybody else here. You're not the secretary anymore, so maybe we ought to just sub it out and have somebody look at it that isn't on.
Could you repeat the motion?
Well, the motion is to have the amendments made that we asked for here. And I don't want to take time. Just hold on a minute here. I don't want to take time at this meeting to go over every detail of what we cut, but I'll guarantee you there was nothing there. Anything that pertained, even the talk in the audience, I left it all in there. You can, other than when it got so sidetracked that it had nothing to do with it. And I'm feel that needs to be taken care of.
I'm gonna second your motion, Mick, because it's just way too long. It's just way
Okay.
too much here.
All right.
Call for a vote.
I just wanted to know if there's any other discussion here. Yeah, okay.
Well, just for the sake of transparency, they're already written. Why spend any more time editing them? And that meeting went, what, three different?
11 hours.
Yeah, so I mean, if that's not gonna happen again, the meetings are going faster, just,
It's 11 hours, but
Yeah.
but when you start trying to go back through the minutes and find out what something happened and where it happened and why it happened and everything, I just, this is not the way minutes are to be taken. That is.
You have this to
Oh,
follow.
I know, you got an index there and everything. Yeah, Chris?
I agree with Chairman, and the reason why is the minutes are supposed to be brief, and they're supposed to mainly describe what the order of the board did. And you already have a recording. You can keep the recording for later if you need to, but the minutes should be brief and to the point. So I agree with the motion to get the minutes down to a normal range and to pass that. So I'm in agreement with that.
Thank you. Further discussion?
would only point out that if we'd
Raise
had
your
a,
hand, Ron. Go ahead.
if we'd had a regular meeting, which usually took about an hour, it would have been 7 pages of minutes. Now, we had 11 hours. See? I mean, there's a heck of a lot
Yeah,
there.
and
Heck of a lot went
most of the
through.
time, the minutes are done on a page and a half. And,
No, they're not done on a page and a half. Lord.
go ahead.
The first meeting I attended, you were very emphatic that you would be following Robert's Rules of Order. I just wonder if this is sideways from that.
Well, we are following Robert's Rules of Order. Robert's Rules of Order say you take the minutes of what transpired, what was accomplished. You don't put in all the talk and chatter and everything else in there. So we are following Robert's Rules of Order. And Kelly, would you want to read the motion again? Is that-
Yeah. You move that the amendments be made and they be taken care of and presented at the next meeting.
Okay. And Rich second that? So that we're moving the minutes to the next meeting to be approved and hopefully have the changes made at that time. If the changes aren't made, then we'll approve the minutes the way they are. Is that fair? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Ron?
No.
2-1. Do we have anything on the February meeting? Not yet. Okay. Moving on. There's no bids, there's no resolutions that I'm aware of. Kurt, are there any resolutions that you're aware of? Okay. Committees. As far as the advisory board committee, that is the advisory board, my 7-person board that I've put together. We will be meeting with the city on April 6th at 10 o'clock in the morning. And this will be not a closed hearing, but there probably won't be very much room there for anybody from the audience, and it's not recommended. But we will be discussing working in the dry in the lake at that time. And that's the different committees that will be coming from the Fish and Wildlife, they'll be coming from the DOE, they'll be coming from the City of Moses Lake. I'm not sure exactly whoever else. I haven't received the letter yet, but I expect it tomorrow.
I'm sorry, is that a closed meeting, did you say?
It's not closed, but it's not really, to say you can't come, I'm not gonna say that. The room is very tight, and we're gonna have a lot of people there, and you may not even find room to be able to stand and be annexed in there. So it's not set up for the public, quite honestly. Yes,
Exactly where is this meeting going to be held?
at the City Hall,
In the new council chamber?
in the new
Oh, there's plenty of room.
chambers. I don't know what's gonna be, it's in the new portion, I understand.
Yeah, there's
but I don't-
plenty of room, it's a big place.
Yeah, I realize that, but this is,
So the meeting is either open or closed?
right.
It's
Well,
open.
Which is it?
Open.
It's open, okay,
no,
thank you.
it's not necessarily open, then.
Well, it's either
I
open
don't
or
know
closed.
why
All meetings are open. All meetings are open.
No, they're not.
What was the date on that again?
April 6th.
April 6th, 10
At
a.m.
what time?
10 o'clock.
Thank you.
Yeah. You will not be allowed to speak or anything, so, just so you know. But we're getting that much closer to actually getting the different agencies together. And at this point in time, I'd like to open it up to audience participation for anything that you see on the agenda there, or even things that you don't see on the agenda, as long as it pertains to the Moses Lake Irrigation District. Sure, go ahead.
I just had a question on your meeting with these different agencies. Have you started a permit process, or is this preliminary?
This is preliminary to that. Yeah.
How long, do you have any idea how long a permit might take to receive?
It depends on who you talk to, but I think that I'll know a lot better after April 6th. And I think it depends on whether we can use some of the old permit and speed things up, or whether we gotta start from point zero and go clear through the building. I mean, they can make us do whichever they feel is necessary. Anybody else?
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, this may be way off the, but back in 1980, when they were hauling all the ash and putting it somewhere,
Right.
I heard rumors that it was being dumped in the lake, but maybe that's completely false, I don't know. But if it is true, is the city being looked to for any of this dredging cost? I mean, Ron lived through it, you know, Mick, and you guys all went through it, I don't know.
I'm unaware. Maybe anybody else here can
Well,
fill
we
in.
had the brand new city manager, you know, Joe Gavinsky, we could ask him, but
Yeah.
it might just be a,
I know they put it close to the lake, but I don't think at any point in time that I ever seen them ever dump it into the lake. I mean, it might have flown into the lake a little bit through gravity and through rainwater and different things, but I do not believe that. But, Ron, you had your hand up?
I'm only gonna say that as close as it got in my, as far as I know, was on 7th and 8th Avenue through that marshy, swampy land that they did dump a lot in there. So it was a wetland, but it wasn't directly in the lake.
okay.
All right.
On the last meeting, it was the latest version of the budget. There was a item in there, 170,000 for land purchase, and I.
105.
It was 105, I thought it was 105.
105. And it's still there.
Is that still on, and what's that for?
It's for a piece of land, if we can get it, which would actually be our new operation headquarters. So, at this point in time, we're still waiting for an appraisal on it, to see where it comes in at. But that's part of what we talked about during the executive session there. Chris, you had your hand up?
My name's Chris Dexter, and I'm 9100 Goodrich, and I'm a stakeholder. And I do have hopes for a harmonious board, and I think we can accomplish that. And I think what we're seeing is a different vision. Each person has a different vision. We all don't ever agree on any one subject, but I would ask the board to, on areas that they can agree, to get together and agree. For instance, one area I see that's a real problem that may not be able to be under solution very soon, but sometime, would be that 2/3 of the population pay assessments and 1/3 doesn't. And to me, that's an ongoing problem that should be solved one way or the other, and it should be looked at very, very hard to get that figured out, because that just causes an ongoing problem when you have 2/3 of the population paying and 1/3 not paying. So, you know, some of the areas that the board could get together with was bringing the budget in control, reduce assessments if it's possible, clarity of the lake. Those are all things that the board can agree upon. And so I think we need to get back to basics. And what about the clarity of the lake? Clarity of the lake, the solution has been dilution. And that being said, we have a much more river water running through the lake, and that's why we don't have the green algae we had in 1965 when I came, and I've lived here since, or 75 or 85. What has cleaned the lake up is more river water. And so that's what we have to acknowledge. That's the biggest thing that's changed Moses Lake, is just more river water running through. And as far as dredging, the dredging process with the type of system that we used is a catastrophe. It's not working. We have to find another solution. That's not going to work. I think 5 people with number 2 shovels and a wheelbarrow could match what we got out of there. And it would be a heck of a lot cheaper. So, you know, you have to keep dollars and cents and keep that in mind, even if somebody's on this side and way for dredging, and others on this side and say, well, we want to dredge, but we want to be cost effective. And I think that's reasonable. We have to do that reasonably. We do have some gigantic problems coming up, and part of it is the peerless economical times that we're in. And one of the things that has came up is that the payback of assessments. At one time I heard that it was just a small amount. Now, the last meeting I heard it was 200,000. Now I'm hearing it's 450,000 that we have to pay back. That's nearly $500,000. Well, folks, if you took a third of your budget that you were getting paid and said, I'm going to have to live this next year with a third less money, that's a problem. And I don't know if it's mismanagement or corruption or whatever the word you want to use, but we need to get down to the bottom why we misassessed people, had them pay, and now we're going to be in a bind to pay that back.
Chris,
Yes.
I think you're probably running close to 3 minutes. Can I let you go ahead and finish?
Okay.
And then,
All right.
I don't want to cut you off here, but
Okay. So we have the twofold problem of paying that, and then we have to we have less assessments coming in to run that. Now, part of the disharmony in the board is probably a misunderstanding that I addressed earlier with one of the board members, and that's the fact that you three are the board. You three vote. We don't vote on things unless for some reason you wanted us to vote just to see. But you're the board, and the mistake that the board member's having is reading audience. Well, in a small board, the audience is those three. It's not us. We're just public to watch, and we're allowed to make comments. We're not to vote. You three are the voting body and determine what goes on. You three are in control. So I applaud and commend the majority board for addressing many of the Moses Lake Irrigation and Rehabilitation District's problems. And they have a goal, they have a vision, they have a plan, and I think we should get behind them and get that plan done. The only thing that really that I saw that's different is that they want to dredge a different way. They want to dredge a more cost-effective way. But that's not enough to have all this hula-blue about. You know, it really is not. They just want to dredge a different way. And what I would like to see from the board is to get along. Okay? Thank you.
I'm going to hammer you down here. Anybody else got a 3-minute talk here? Mike?
Yeah, I'm Mike Smith. I'm a stakeholder, I guess. Anyway, last meeting, we discussed the Parker Hard telemetry.
Right.
And I did contact Chris within 2 days. Chris and I talked on the phone.
Chris,
I'm sorry. Is it Chris?
Yeah, okay. Chris, you got it, works here?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure you guys know where Chris is going.
I came into the office on Friday, March 23rd at 11:45, and I asked Julie, Jeannie was there also, that I had just got done talking to Chris earlier, and he informed me that the file was sitting in a file cabinet in the office that she's aware of, and they both commonly use. Julie tried to call Chris, couldn't get a hold of him, went back and looked for the file wasn't available, she didn't know where it was at. At that time, she stated that they were leaving. They didn't want to get charged into overtime. So all overtime had been canceled, and they were at the board meeting, and their hours at the board meeting obviously are being paid for. So I asked her to leave a note for Chris. He wouldn't see it Friday, but possibly Monday. I have yet to get a phone call back from Chris as a follow-up on this. What I've been asking for is the specifications that the insurance company is requiring of you guys so that we could come up with another method of doing this that is obviously going to be cheaper, because I have done some legwork already. But I guess my question is, all of these employees that are at these meetings, are they being paid?
I've been told no.
Are they being compensated by having time off?
Is there still no?
Not for attending meetings, no.
Not for a meeting.
Okay, my question is, you and Jeannie both left Friday, was my understanding.
I was here till 4 o'clock.
Okay,
Don't address me.
well,
Address the board,
okay,
please.
well, obviously,
Yeah.
I guess my
Well,
question is,
Chris, do you have that information?
Julie gave me the note. I haven't had a chance to get back to him.
Okay.
We do have the information.
Can you,
The insurance information, I don't have.
Okay.
But I,
We must have somewhere that the insurance company has made a
Insurance.
requirement of this.
It just-
Kurt, can you get that taken and
It's a simple requirement that we have to have access to,
Can you,
to monitor that in the office.
can you get that information?
Yeah, just a simple letter.
Okay, you've got that letter?
On church and, yeah.
Okay.
We don't have it on me.
No, but I mean, you could
I
get
can
it
do
tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay, by tomorrow, by 3 o'clock, is that something that we could have this information ready for Mike and likewise have,
well, basically what I'm looking for is that information is required,
what's required?
and also the information on this drive,
Yeah.
so that I can follow up and find out what
I've
they
got
have.
some of that information in my pamphlet here, but I'm sure they can give it to you as well, Mike.
Okay.
All right. Can you guys make sure that by tomorrow, by 3 o'clock?
I put together a sheet already and just, like I said, I haven't had a chance to
Okay.
get back with it.
All right. Mike,
Yeah.
come in at 3 o'clock tomorrow?
No, I can't, I'm working on the
Oh,
area.
okay.
Tomorrow.
Well,
Next
but it'll be ready at any time after 3 o'clock. Is that's fair enough? Okay. Okay. Continuing on. Anybody else like to speak at this time? Yeah.
Debbie Dorn Martinez, and there's a portion of what Mr. Dexter said that I do agree, and that's the fiscal urgency to focus on the refunds that need to be taken care of. And I think that should be first and foremost before acquisition of new equipment, acquisition of new property, acquisition of mobile homes. Before any of that should be considered, we need to get the refunds taken care of.
We've got it in the budget. Anybody else?
Kelly Ryan, iFIBER. Just a quick question, just to make sure. So this meeting, April 6th, is open or closed at City Hall?
It's not open to the public as far as having anything going on there.
So the press is not invited?
You can check with Anna Henning and see to what point that she wants to allow anybody in there, or other than who's the officials that are actually going to be there. Now,
So it's an executive session?
Huh?
So it's an
No,
executive session?
it's not an executive session, but it's strictly a fact finding. It's not anything that's going to be done as far as any, it's just a fact finding hearing is what it's basically amounted to.
But one that does pertain to a huge issue for Moses Lake and its future.
Well,
so.
there'll be no decisions made there
No, I
whatsoever.
understand.
But we're looking for information, and that's what it's gonna be about, yeah. And so, check with Ann Henning, why don't you,
Okay.
see how much, I don't know where it's gonna be held, I don't know whether she can get the chambers, or whether she's gonna put us in a room smaller than this, or what's gonna happen, but there will be, I'm sure that there's probably gonna be at least, probably 20 people there.
We have smaller guys that work for us too.
Yeah, you're small, you'll fit in the corner really easy. Okay. Further comments or questions or, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I have a couple comments.
Your name, okay?
Jill Springer Forrest, and I live on the west side of the lake, off West Shore Drive, and got 3 lots. And my first introduction, really to paying attention to what was going on, was this last election. And of course, I know that's why they were trying to get this bill passed, 6512, and I was really disappointed that that didn't get passed. I did participate in a town hall meeting by phone. I don't know if anybody else did. That was sponsored by Judy Warnick, and
I listened to one of hers, I didn't catch.
yeah, I think it was, well, the last one they called me on. And And I was talking to her about a couple things that, because I haven't been to another meeting before, I'm just reading what I get in the newspaper, the local newspaper primarily.
Not good.
And, yeah, it seems like the tension is about
Hey,
as
Lynn, you
thick
can
as,
smile.
about as thick as can be. The tension seems very, but anyway, get past that, and this might cause more. But a couple things I wanted to talk about is I just noticed in the last article that there was a topic about office supplies, that they were out almost 13,000 for the year. Someone was quoted, and they've run out of money for the rest of this year, and I'm wondering if that was for the first 3 months of this year that 13,000 was spent, or how
There's, you
that
got
was
office,
misquoted.
and then you've got a number of things that are in there that have to be covered, and I don't deny that. We sat down a couple weeks ago here, or a week and a half ago, something like that, and so we went down what each one of them had to have, and I think we came up with a very workable budget. So that part of it, I feel, we'll be talking about that next, in fact.
Okay, so the 13,000 that was spent already wasn't just for the first 3 months of this year? Okay.
No, that would be what they had budgeted last year, I think.
Okay, that makes more sense, even though I think that's a little bit high. Also, I was going through the website, I've been on there a couple times before, I noticed that does need to be updated, several things that are out of date. And also, I was wondering if you've got your staff here, paid staff, and I've got Kurt, Julie, Chris, Michael, Cole, Garrett, Goff, is that still the current staff?
They're all still current, aren't they?
Is there anybody else that I'm
Yes.
missing?
Yeah, you've got two of them that, you got Chris, and then Brian. Brent, I mean.
Brent and Chris isn't the Chris Wilson?
Right, that is Chris Wilson.
Okay, and then there's one secretary now, or two?
Actually, there's one secretary, there's one administrative assistant, and Jeannie, I don't know exactly what your title is. There assistant to the assistant, I guess.
Admin, okay, so supporting staff, there's about 3.
There's 2 full-time.
Okay.
Kelly is just a secretary of the board at this point in time.
Well, this is something that has bothered me since I first made my first phone call, was that I understand that everybody on staff here takes 410s for their work schedules with every Friday off?
No.
That's changed now?
Never was the case.
It's all work schedules on what's required.
Yeah, because I thought it was kind of odd that even in the winter months, we don't even hardly have 12 hours of daylight.
We considered that.
So that was taken care of, that's not the case anymore, that
Well,
there's gonna be a manager or somebody on staff?
We're trying to keep the overtime down, so sometimes they do leave, some of them leave early on Friday.
Oh, I understand that, I don't mind that some take
Yeah,
410s, I
sure.
just would like to see that there's someone here on staff.
I think
The management
Jeannie is
position.
usually here. I vouch for the fact that she's usually here clear up until quitting time on
But the management
Friday.
staff is not here on Fridays.
Just depends.
So you're going outside doing a lot of your work out and about on the field, I'd imagine? Because I noticed I've never had anybody or anything done at my side of the lake. I go to Blue Heron Park a lot, I go to Impel Landing a lot, and the sediment there is absolutely atrocious. I take my dog down there. I've lived here for 13 years. My grandparents homesteaded here, oh boy, it's been 40 years ago now. So, so I am familiar with the area, but I wondered if it's ever gonna be on the schedule, because when I went to the gathering last summer, for the dredging schedule, we weren't even on the horizon, our area. So I guess I'll have to talk to someone more one-on-one about this.
The dredging is, in your area, probably be a long ways down the road.
Well, I'm not for the dredging project. I think it's kind of a waste of money, but that's just my opinion. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Anybody else? Ron?
Want to respond to Mr. Dexter. Robert's Rules of Order newly revised, 10th edition, page 67, under listing of individual incidental motions, subtitle 1 and 2, lines 23 through 35. If you want to write it down, you can look it up. I won't take the time of the group.
Cite that again, please.
Page 67, subtitle 1 and 2. where it goes to the vote of the assembly.
Yeah, Chris.
The assembly is you three though.
No,
under
the
that.
assembly is this group.
No, it's you three. If you read Robert rules, a small board is your three. Now, a large board, if this was a large board and we were all included, then we would vote. But you three have already been voted in, so we're done. It's not to whoever's in the
Go back and read the background work.
Ron, I'm gonna quote you, because I was at a meeting that you were running here just about a year ago, and you said, the audience is here to watch and listen, and we are in total command here, and if we don't want to let you talk, listen to it, do anything else, we do not have to let you even involve yourself whatsoever.
I would have never used those words.
Well, probably didn't use them exact words, but I bet the meeting was pretty dang close, because I remember you saying.
I explained what a public hearing and public comment was about, and I would never have been that disrespectful to the audience.
Well, you let us know that they were there only to listen and watch. And if it's recorded, I bet we could go back and find it. Nevertheless, we're gonna continue on here. We're doing pretty good tonight so far, so I think that let's move into the budget. At this point in time, we're gonna close off public comment. But by closing it off, go ahead and raise your hand if I feel like I want to answer you. I'll go ahead. But I'd love to get your comments as long as they're civil and we don't get in a big argument. But I want to explain the budget, and let's go ahead. Julie, do you want to take it on, or do you want me to take it on, or what? We've made some major changes. First, quite honestly, I gave away the farm, and we are $200 and some thousand higher than we were before. Ron?
Mr. Archer, have you received a copy of the budget?
I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't either. How are we going to act on something that we have had a chance to at least look through?
I think this is
spend some time
our
on?
opportunity right now to have Julie kind of talk to us about it and make a decision.
Yeah, if you want to, Julie, I can go down a lot of the things here, but I thought we were going to make sure the board had copies of this.
Well, what we did is Chris Wilson and I met 2 hours and 15 minutes with Mick. Week before last? Week before last.
Right.
And I actually did a spreadsheet of what was approved.
Julie, before you go any further, do you have copies for the guys here or not?
No.
Oh, you didn't make copies for
No,
anybody
I'll
else?
explain that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. What was approved in December unanimously by the board was $1,455,522.50. Okay, that was approved unanimously. Then there was an amendment done in January. Then Mick came with an amendment, another amendment to propose. We sat down, we went line item per line item, came up with this right-hand column. Now, what I did explain to Mick then, after we did that and got all the numbers correct, some of the things we agreed on and some we didn't agree on.
Well,
The ones we didn't agree on, Mick put a number in. But what I did explain to you then, the next week, was this is now at $1,740,445. And what I explained to you, which staff has not had an opportunity to do yet, is see if that new column now that we went over,
right,
line item per line item, fits within our assessment model. I can pretty much say by looking at it, it's not going to, which would mean that we're out of our boundaries on assessments for the irrigation side and the rehabilitation side. Staff needs time to look at this, plug it into the model to make sure that this is gonna be a legal budget. I don't, right off the top of my head, I can't say it's legal, I don't think it is.
Which item do you feel is out of line?
We're off on both sides of the scale, I believe. I don't believe it's gonna hold up audit-wise at all.
Yeah, I'm saying last year you had a budget of approximately the same amount.
No, we were less than that last year.
1.6, I think, something like that. And you spent 2.9 million, and yet nobody has even made a comment about that being out of order, out of line, out of budget items or anything else. I don't know why you seem to think because you put a couple items in here that you don't appreciate or don't agree with.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How did we spend 2.8 million when we only received 1.645? Where did that $1 million go? Come
Well,
from? Where is it? We don't have any debt, we don't have a loan.
You had some of it came in the form of grants. Yes, you
So-
did. You had some grants that came in last year.
Yeah, 75,000.
Okay. Then you also had a general fund that at the start of the year was 1.04 million, and at the end of the year was down to $250,000. Yeah, don't sit there and shake
We
your
never
head.
had a general fund at 1.4, I don't know where
Well,
you're coming from.
I can show you the figures.
You're not reading actual money, you're reading tracking numbers.
I'm reading the amount of money that was spent, Kurt. The number.
It gets counted 4 times as it goes through our process.
Well, somehow there's a number of checks that all added up to that much, so I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know where you're coming from.
well, I'll show it to you when we get the books all back and everything. But nevertheless, I see it, but, go ahead, Julie.
Okay, so if you remember when you came in the office that day, I said, once we go through the model, the assessment model, to see if it fits, if it works, if it's legal, there would be another column off again to the right-hand side to show us where we're out of line, or where we're in line.
Yeah, well,
And that's gonna take several days. It's a long process to get in that formula.
And I'm surprised that, I don't know what goes on around here, but I really, go ahead.
Julie, so you're saying several days we're talking about before the next meeting?
Well, yeah, you're having back-to-back meetings almost, and we're trying to get the rest of our office duties done and things. I mean, we're slammed to the wall without the extra duties, just to be real honest with you, all the time. But this is sitting down and going through a big process to get to that. It's not gonna happen overnight.
Okay.
And it takes more than one of us. It takes 2 or 3 of us to do that.
So I'm still asking, is it gonna happen by the time of our next general meeting?
Can't guarantee it. This budget process is normally 2.5, 3 months. You're asking us to do it in 2 days, 3 days, all the
No,
time.
we're asking for modification on total budget.
You have to go through it like a total budget. There's a formula that you have to fit to meet the RCWs and our requirements for our assessment. That's the model. It's not a cookie cutter deal that you can throw it in. You have to run through every number to make sure it matches. It's not simple.
Okay, well, let's have copies given to the board. And you check it out, see if you got a problem with any areas there that you can find out between now and the next 2 weeks.
Well,
We gotta get something approved here. I mean, we're just sitting here stalling it off. And
Do we get a chance to look at the budget? When do we get
you can,
a copy of the budget?
get the budget, when it's approved, you can have it, but until we actually get it approved, that's probably it. Last meeting, we did hand out a copy here that was, fairly close to what we got here, but I went in and changed a number of different things along with Julie and Chris, and trying to make it to where everybody can make everything fit.
So
We
what
spent-
about a copy of last year's budget? Is that available?
Yeah, soon as we get an approved budget, then we can give you the.
But last year's budget's accessible?
Yes. Well, it doesn't look like we're gonna approve the budget again tonight. But, let's do everything we can to have it ready to go for next, in 2 weeks. And I feel that, you're having a problem with the, ordering of the mobile home. Is that,
I can't sign anything.
huh?
I can't sign anything. So how am I supposed to order it?
Well, I thought we voted on it last time to go ahead and get it coming.
But you won't let me sign anything. So how am I supposed to order it?
Well, then, we'll come in and sign for it. Is that all that we need is,
Is this something, now, aren't you supposed, or isn't it like 2 of us sign? You and?
well,
or you?
for checks we do. But, we gave the direction to him to go ahead and get it ordered and get it coming. So I thought that was probably a good enough, that you can go ahead and sign for it. Well, I move then that Kurt be given the authority to go ahead and sign for the new mobile home, and we get it coming.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. On?
You're supposed to say opposed.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. 2-1. Okay. And this is just a thing that I'd like to see happen, and I don't know it has been made in the form of a motion, but I would like to see you move that E5 cat out.
It was moved Monday.
You say it was moved Monday? Okay. Out to the Conley Park?
Yep.
And it can be located somewhere where we're talking there as far as the mobile home. I don't think you and I have ever went out there, never, or any of us have ever went out there and looked at the
First,
site.
before we do anything, we gotta get a permit. And all the pad and all that, I mean, anything we do is gotta be inspected, and we have to start the permit process.
Now, do we need a permit to just go out there and level the land, where we want it to be?
No,
So
but
we can-
it would be good to have the site approved before we did.
Well,
I mean, is there any reason that you think it wouldn't be?
well,
approved?
yeah,
You're asking me to answer for another agency, I'm not gonna do that.
yeah. I think we've got the right to go out there and build everything else that we've done out there and moving it around and everything, and I don't think there'd be a problem getting it shaped up and then get an idea exactly where we want to set it after we get it leveled out. And I think that if we get the D6 or D5 out there,
Yeah, we
put
intend
it,
to start this week cleaning up that hillside and getting it ready, so when we have water lines, we'll be ready to go.
sounds good.
Okay.
All right, sounds great. Thank you. Okay, new business. Making an offer for employment for legal counsel. We had a chance to interview one of the people that were applying for legal counsel, and the other one sent us a letter stating that he would not be able to be here. Chuck Zimmerman is a lawyer from Wenatchee, and he's with the Wenatchee firm there. Ron, do you want to talk a little bit about Zimmerman?
Well, I'd like to correct the record because Moberg's letter did not say he would not be here. He said he would not want to an interview in a public forum. That's what he said.
Okay.
Secondly, with regard to Chuck Zimmerman, he's been a practicing attorney since 1983, I believe. His firm is located in Wenatchee. I do not know how many members there are, but there is a number, and I'm going to say more than a dozen members in that firm. He has offered his services. He has the experience in working with municipalities and with water associated legislation. He works currently for a number of cities around the state, a number of different entities that are very similar to what we are, and would love to have the job. The one drawback being that he lives in Wenatchee, and we would be paying his travel time. Now, to learn how Moses Lake Irrigation and Rehabilitation District works, you have to know both the irrigation law and have to know the rehabilitation portion. And it's apparent that he does have that knowledge, where the other individual does not. It is true we would be paying him $20 more an hour than we would Mr. Moberg, but he also indicated that on many of the aspects that would not require his time, he could have paralegals doing the work for $70 an hour, where we would be paying Mr. Moberg to do all of the work at $225. So I think that more than is going to offset what the travel time would be. Secondly, I think that to spend the time educating an attorney like Mr. Moberg, who has no experience with water law or with municipalities, that's going to be a costly matter for a number of months because he's not going to know the answers to our questions. And so it's going to take a lot of research on his time, which we're going to pay for. It's just like Mr. Zimmerman said, he knows the answers. He doesn't have to go and look them up. We can call him and he can give us the answer right there and then, period. He doesn't have to spend an hour trying to find it in the law book. So with his experience, with his expertise, with the possibility of doing a Skyping situation or a situation like Kelly mentioned during the break where we would actually have a camera set up here and one in his office, he could be in attendance without any charge for travel. And that's something that his office is currently working on. I would certainly think that we should try a temporary period of 6 months, hire him for that time, and see if we're pleased with his work.
Okay. Well, you know, I went home after our little meeting here this afternoon with Mr. Zimmerman and talked to my wife, and she was with the North Columbia Basin Community Council Action, and Mr. Mulder was their lawyer, and she said he did a great job for him. Our previous lawyer didn't have any of that kind of experience, did a great job for us too. And I don't think spending $6,000 on just travel time is good, for one thing. I just did the math real quick, and that equates to 85 hours paralegal time. And unless we've got some real problems, paralegals, 85 hours of paralegal time, that's a heck of a lot of time. So I don't see that balance working. I don't see it being paid for by the paralegals. Also, Mr. Moberg has been in the community his entire life. I know his father was also a lawyer. He's very committed, very good guy. I went to school with him. He's never done any law work for me. I haven't seen him face to face in probably 10 years. But my wife thinks a lot of him. She said he did a great job for him. He has a vested interest in the community. He lives here. He's seen what the lake when it was the worst and to what it is now. I think Mr. Moberg's, honestly, I like Mr. Zimmerman. I think he did a great presentation, but I think what we need, I think Mr. Moberg's the way to go.
Okay. I did the math here. If we had 2-hour meetings and paid one for their 2 hours, that'd be $450 for the meeting. And if we took Chuck coming from Wenatchee, his travel time, and I'm using basically an hour and a half coming because he's going to have to be here before the meeting and be sure that by the time he leaves his office, and he's talking about from office to office. And so I'm saying that he's probably going to leave a half hour before the meeting would be anticipated, and then he'd be paid till he got clear back. So there's probably an extra an hour and a half coming and an hour going back at the very minimum, and you figure that out. His price for a meeting would be $1,100, and Moberg's would be $450. And I have a problem spending that much extra. I think Moberg, and I'm not sure of this, I think he's the attorney for the port.
He is.
Is he? I think he is. So it's not like he doesn't have experience here working with entities that would be much like what we're talking here. And I can't see that much difference, quite honestly. If Chuck was living here, I'd say probably he is more qualified. But as far as paying that much difference, from 450 to 1,100, I don't think he's that much more qualified.
I just wanted to make a comment that I don't think we're going to pay for his education of learning these rules. We shouldn't have to pay for that education from Moberg. What you were stating about we had to pay for.
I can only tell you what we've been told by
well, legally, he's not going to be able to charge us for that.
And that is that it takes them a while to get up to speed on water law.
Yeah, and that's on their time.
No, we pay for that.
It should be billable hours.
It is billable. Absolutely, it's billable. We paid Chris Reese for all that time.
Well,
and I'm saying,
I'm just, like I said, I'm new coming into this, but I've never worked for lawyers.
We're going to cut the audience out of here. We're going to get ourselves going here, and I didn't really want to even allow you to. I'm going to cut you off. I would move that we offer a contract to Harold Moberg for a 6-month trial period, and
that's legal
for a 6-month trial period.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion?
I can't understand why you would make such a move without even an interview. Lord, you know, he sends a letter in and says, I'm not gonna be there because I don't wanna talk in front of the public. And you're ready to go ahead and give him the job. That doesn't make sense to me.
Well,
We're not even interviewing him yet. We at least should do that.
that's why we're eliminating it to a 6-month period, Ron. And at the end of 6 months, if we feel that we've been unacceptable.
Is Mr. Mulder, is he, or has he ever been your attorney?
No, he's not my attorney. In fact, when my father-in-law passed away, he was suing our family.
So he's never served as an attorney for you?
No, but I was very impressed with him that he actually.
Just answer your
Okay,
question.
let me
Yes or
answer.
no? Yes or no?
No, he's not my personal attorney.
Mr. Archer, has he ever been your personal attorney?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Has he ever been yours, Ron?
No.
What's the problem?
But I
The
was.
problem is that I think we need to at least interview the guy
Okay,
and talk to him and find out what he knows about water law and what he can do for us. This is silly to be hiring somebody without even an interview. Absolutely, this is
Well, I was impressed with, when he was challenging our family, I was impressed with him enough at that time, that he made it miserable enough for us that we went ahead and paid, and we should have actually won the thing. So, I was impressed with him at that point in time.
Well,
And so that.
when I die up here, then go ahead, we can file a lawsuit, and we can handle it that way. But when it comes to water law and municipalities and so forth, I'm not sure that he's the guy to do the job.
I would say that we offered the contract to him for the 6-month period. All those in favor?
Can I speak?
No, I'm sorry, if I open it up.
I just can't believe it.
He can't believe it either. And
I'm not
there's
gonna-
an attorney.
I'm not gonna open it up for conversation.
Yeah, but listen, you guys know it all, you see.
I did identify myself earlier, and I should have, but I didn't see the mic to walk up to. I know,
Yeah.
you can push me out, but I'm very sorely. But yeah, I'm retired, and I did irrigation. I did irrigation work out of Wallula. We set up, you know, Chuck Schulberg and I set up that district down there. But you know, I'm retired. But if you could get an attorney like Gar Jeffers out of Wenatchee, who was a civil attorney, a civil engineer before he became an attorney. But I don't know Chuck Zimmerman. But you need, what's more important for an attorney-client relationship is the client has confidence in that attorney, knowing what they're doing. And that's what Ron's talking about with with Chuck Zimmerman. You need an attorney you know is knowledgeable and knows what he's doing, so that when he says something, you can take it to the bank. You can count on it.
Well,
I
that's why.
just add one thing if I can. The video conferencing is a very doable deal. So why not fit that as part of the condition? I mean, your own words said that he's the most qualified, so if you can eliminate the travel time, then that should be the correct person to
Let's look
hire.
at it for a 6-month period. And if we're not happy with him at the end of 6 months, then we'll look at the other options.
Yeah, I disagree. I think I've known Mr. Mulder a long time. I know he's not the kind of guy that's gonna sit back in his haunches and just let things go by. He's gonna research it, he's gonna make sure it's done right. He's not gonna come out here and give us legal advice without knowing what's going on. His family has been in the law business for 40, 50 years with his parents. I mean, his wife is a judge. I mean, that's what they do. So these guys are not a fly-by-night lawyer firm. These guys know what they're doing. They represent our port district out here. They represented, you know, all kinds of these deals. We're talking water stuff. Our last lawyer didn't have that experience, and he did just fine. He got a lot of things accomplished for us that we had no idea what we were doing at all. He did the research, he got it done right, and it didn't cost us, you know, $500 or $600 an hour to get the dang thing done with travel time. But it doesn't make sense.
If you can eliminate that, that's
Just, Ron?
Yeah. If you are arrested for murder, are you gonna hire an attorney that does divorces? Is that the guy, no, is that the guy you're gonna hire?
I don't think we're-
Excuse me, I'm talking, and I ask you a question.
Well, you're
and I have the right
driving
to-
past me.
Absolutely, I don't have to talk to you I'm discussing him. If you are up for murder, are you gonna hire a guy that does divorces?
You know, I would hire, Mr. MLIRD,
You're not gonna answer my question.
no matter what, because I trust Mr. MLIRD. He is gonna do the right thing.
Did we get any recommendations from Chris?
Yes,
when he
we've had,
left?
yes, and they were from Mr. Zimmerman. That's why I contacted him. From both of our previous attorneys and from 2 other local attorneys, one in Ephrata and one in Moses Lake. So 4 attorneys have recommended him because of his expertise in the field.
Question? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Ron? Opposed?
No.
Okay. Kelly, can I get you to write the letter, so I forget it, it gets lost along the way here, to Gerald Moberg, offering him a 6-month trial period. And, we'd like for him to start April 1st. That's, he won't actually start in April 1st as far as the meetings go, because that won't happen until the 10th, but at least we can get him on board, and at that point in time, if we have questions that we want to ask him ahead of time, then we have the right to do it. So April 1st.
Do we know he will take the job?
That's why we're offering it to him. And I'm assuming that,
We only have 2 candidates.
okay, moving on. Okay, we've had a number of arguments over the governance policy. And rather than get down to each one of them individually, I would like to see the governance policy turned over to our new attorney and have him look it over.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Point of order?
Yes. Okay. This is a continuation of the last meeting. You cannot bring up new business under a continued meeting. And right here, you can read it yourself. It's right there, and it says the agenda or the information that we discussed tonight has to be made part of the call, which was our agenda from the 13th. And if it's not there, we can't bring it up tonight.
Well, Ron, we got an item in there that says agenda items and non-agenda items. This might be one of those non-agenda items that you seem to be.
Where do you see this on here? Where do you see non-agenda?
I see it on the one that Kurt gave me here, as far as being a non-agenda items over here.
Where do you see it on this thing you gave us tonight?
I don't see it on there, but this is the continued meeting. It's continued the last meeting.
Read it. Go ahead, read this. And it'll tell you can't do this.
I'm saying, as far as the chairman of the board, that I'm out ruling you on this, and if you want to call for a point of order, then we'll vote on it, and it's up to the board to make it happen. Would you like to appeal it?
Well, when you don't know what an assembly is, and when you don't know what a vote is, why would I want to appeal it?
Okay, well then, don't appeal it then. The ruling stands. We're going to go ahead and be talking about it tonight. This will be our first reading of it.
For the record, if I may, I will not participate in any of these matters that are not in compliance with Robert's Rules of Order under continuation of meetings. Okay? I want that in the record.
I think that the notice was that this would be included in that. We gave public notice to that effect.
If you read this, it tells you. No, you read it.
Yeah, we gave public notice.
You did, and you said we're going to talk about it, but that does not meet it. This does not meet the requirement.
We gave notice that.
It does not meet the requirement.
All we got to do is give a 24-hour period.
Good. Okay, looking at our last agenda, on section 10, it says non-agenda items, and public question and comment. Is there any reason why we can't have that in there?
We completed the meeting's agenda last time on the 13th.
This is an extension of the last meeting.
We completed everything.
Okay, we're arguing about something that's immaterial here, because the chair's already ruled if you want to.
All right.
If you want to challenge it.
Well, I challenge it.
If you challenge it, then, I'm saying that we'll put it to a vote.
Okay, Mick, let me ask a question real quick. All we're asking is for our lawyer to look at, right?
That's right. Take
So
it.
we're not asking him to.
We're asking it be suspended until he has the chance to bring it back to us with the changes made.
Okay, and so, he can look at it even if we don't do anything with it, if we can bring it up at the next meeting.
We'll be bringing it up next meeting. We're gonna give it a double reading on it.
You do not have the authority to suspend it without following these amendments right here.
Right, it calls
And
for a double.
You don't have the authority to suspend it.
I think we do, Ron.
Read this, would you?
I'm not gonna read that. I've already read it a number of times.
Would you like me to read it?
Sure, go ahead.
These rules may be amended or new rules adopted by a majority vote of the board, provided that amendments or new rules have been introduced into the record at a prior board meeting.
Right. We're not doing it tonight. We're gonna be doing it April meeting.
You can't suspend them in the meantime.
No, I'm not suspending them in the meantime.
We're asking for a reading.
What did you just say?
We are on the first reading. If you read your minutes here, we're talking first reading. You know.
And I'm telling you,
in
you
city
can't do
council-
that, but you talked about suspending them.
No, we haven't suspended them, no.
All right, read it again. Tell me again what you want to do.
I want to have this be the first reading that will suspend the governance policy until changes are complete. This is the first reading. It does not take effect. You've ran enough city council meetings that you know that you have a first reading and a second reading.
On any case.
And nothing happens until the second reading.
That's right.
Okay, so that's what we're saying here tonight. This is the first reading.
Okay.
We actually put it in the paper, we notified everybody.
Okay.
So it is, as far as I'm concerned, a legal first notice. Discussion any further? Not? Call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
I'll second it first, but yes.
What's the motion?
It wasn't seconded yet, Kelly?
No.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, it's been seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I abstain on the grounds of the aforementioned statement.
Okay. No problem. Okay, manager's report. Kurt, I got a letter in the mail here a couple days ago, 3 days ago, whatever it was.
Yep.
Reporting that you feel we've joined the union. Is that what's happened here? Or are we on the process of the step of it, or where are we at? Give us an update.
I got a notice that the staff has joined the union, it's in effect, and we're now in the negotiating stages.
Kurt doesn't represent us at all.
I realize the management does not.
Nope.
But
We joined the union, staff felt that their jobs were threatened. Payroll is locked up on the budget, everyone's positions are locked up on the approved budget from December.
And you feel that the union's gonna help you as far as
The union is protection for our jobs.
protection for your jobs, okay? And have you brought it to the board at all before this, or is this the first? Is this the first?
This is the first time.
First time out, okay, so, I think we need legal counsel on this, is whether you can do this without bringing it to the board first.
We can.
Well, we will check with legal counsel, and then, we'll get back to you on it.
Okay.
Which union would that be?
Teamsters.
Teamster.
Okay, good.
Teamster.
They don't have to have our permission.
No, but I think there's a certain amount of time in hearings, and I think that you gotta go to the people that are writing checks. And this is not current in this case.
Even your big advocate back here disagrees.
So, which employees would be in the union?
All of MLIRD's employees except for the general manager.
Except for Kurt?
Okay, Dredge, can you give us an update on that, Kurt?
Still waiting for Pacific Mechanical, been trying to get them to get out there and give us an estimate.
Okay, I see a few sheets in here where they have actually came up with a bunch of numbers. Has that been added up to see what that come up to? The mechanical there's gonna probably do the work.
That was from,
That was previous stuff.
yeah, I got the quote from in the mechanical on everything. I gave a bottom dollar number that I requested off of that to what we could get the work done for, waiting for the quote from Pacific Mechanical, who's the only other one on our small works roster. I haven't received it yet.
Is there any idea when they're gonna come in, or no? Not very many? Have you had-
They're arguing whether they wanna go on the site right now, so.
Yeah, one thing I might mention is the fact that in the amended budget here, we did add a very substantial amount there to that. Not really that I wanted to, but on the other hand, I did say, and I think the board agreed with us, that we were going to get the dredge back up in shape again. And you had $30,000 budgeted. I felt that the overhaul on the pump would probably run a little higher. I budgeted $35,000, and now we're up to $94,500.
We approved 60,000 at the last meeting.
Right, we did.
In addition to the 35.
Right, but I wanted to let everybody know that we did bring that number for the dredge repairs clear up to $94,500.
We didn't.
Well,
You did.
thank you, Ron. Stand corrected. Okay.
So we're just waiting for a proper quote, and if they give us a written refusal, then we can move forward.
Okay, all right. Well permits?
As I reported last time, it's in the Department of College's hands for review. We did get a letter from them stating the fees, but we won't know what the fees are for the review till they do their initial review, and they'll send us a bill for that.
Okay, and here again, we added considerable money, brought that clear up to $85,000 to get the water down off the hill, so hopefully that's enough money.
Yeah, I don't know, we'll see.
Okay, how are we doing on the refund? Are we gonna have that ready to be shipped out 1st of April?
We reported on that last meeting.
Yeah.
Reported last meeting, we're still going through the process.
Yeah, but we thought.
Of the list, which I said I hope was done in this office by the end of June. Then we have stacks that we need to, some needs to go through the title company, and then we need to go to the county.
Let's go back in our minutes here then, or back to recording, because it was not the 1st of June, it was in April that we were gonna have this.
No, Kelly can clarify that from her minutes, I'm sure, from last meeting.
I believe you did say a couple months.
At least a couple months. I'll be real honest with you, Mr. Chairman. The encumbering processes that you have set in place for us are making us chase our tail in this office. It's hard to get a lot of work done. And it's slowing the wheels down. Just so you know,
Well,
things are taking us a lot longer.
I know that Jeannie has been working pretty steady on it, and I see she's getting toward the bottom of the book, and that's where you're coming.
I finished one book.
Okay.
There's 4 books, Mick.
And you're still that far away yet, Jeannie? Is that?
I'm making real good progress.
Okay, good. I appreciate coming in here and seeing that book in front of you and knowing that you're spending time working on it. And I think we need to talk to Mr. Moberg. Can we get him on board and have him look over the letter that we want to send out to these people? Take a look at it and see if he has a problem with it, he wants to change it, and make sure that we're all in agreement there.
Julie, you did say 2 to 3 months it should be done on your end.
All right, thank you.
And how long?
2 to 3 months.
2 to
it should
3
be done on
months.
your
Okay.
end.
That was 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
And I believe the rest of that was by the end of June, hopefully. That gives it.
Oh, yeah, I just lost my page now. I have.
Okay, bills, checks, vouchers, possible outsourcing. Are we going to have some bills and checks and stuff here? I went through the system back here, and it looks like we've already used up somewhere around, I don't know, close to $400,000, and I haven't seen more than $5,000 in front of me here yet. I don't know who's signing all these checks and where they're all going. I don't know where any of this money has gone to, but Julie?
Mr. Chairman.
I know, we keep asking for.
You know, you came in one day and I explained the vouchering process. I explained the insurance refunds, how we borrowed money. I mean, we took money out of our account, it came in, it shows as income. It went out to pay initial, insurance came back in, we sent it back to the county. We have not spent that kind of money, okay? You implemented the
Well-
new process on January 17th, if I may finish, okay? Anything that was charged, invoiced prior to that went under the old system, okay? Everything under the new system now you're seeing. And Mr. Bailey, in one of the meetings, said you should at least pay, you know, your obligations that are rent, utilities, the normal bills. We've been doing that. I have a stack of these here for you tonight, okay? We have not spent that amount of money on invoicing, okay? I've tried to educate you a little bit on the system and the cash flow.
But Julie,
I
I've seen roughly $5,000 worth of vouchers or checks that we had to sign off here last time. And I know that we have spent more than $5,000 in a 3-month period.
Would you like to come in so we can go through the education process of cash flow again? I'd be happy to sit down with you. These are what I have to present tonight.
Okay.
Also,
I'm hoping that you got more than you had last meeting.
Actually, you took Kurt's ability away to approve these, so on every single voucher now, I need to have you write approved, the date, sign it, and then sign the checks, please. Here, on top. Thank you.
We got one last thing here on manager's report before we actually get into the vouchers. That's cleanup day, it's coming up this weekend, is that right? Saturday? Okay. Tell us what you got planned and.
Well, it's a Julie deal, but we got 2 staff members that are taking Friday off to work Saturday. Julie's gonna be working Saturday. I will not be there.
Okay.
We will be setting up the fire station. There will be no vehicles.
The Mosley Lake Fire Station?
Yeah, fire station number 1.
Okay.
And everything will be ran out of the back there, and everybody has been informed to bring their garbage back to the fire station.
Okay, and what time do you start?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock?
Okay, I'm not gonna be able to make it. I've gotta take my kids to Spokane, my Country Club kids, for a car show up there. And so I'm gonna be gone, but I think my wife's gonna be coming down to my place. So if you can find her something to do.
Put her to work.
Put her to work. Okay. Also, our club, I was hoping to get our club out to be able to help out a bunch. We had one of the members pass away from cancer, so we're doing a benefit thing for him at the Sands that same day. So I doubt you're gonna see any of the Sands program.
Okay. At 9 o'clock in the morning, and then they show up back again. Last time I think you had a chili feed or something, is that still?
Between 11 and 11:45 is chili feed. All garbage needs to be brought back and in the truck by then.
At 11:45.
By 11:45. We don't have staff vehicles to run around and pick up, so if you got pickups and you're coming to help, plan on bringing it back yourself.
Okay.
Okay?
Is that?
We're on limited staff.
All right. Okay, thank you. That concludes the business other than signing, Ron?
Just a point I want to make here, and that is that 4 other irrigation districts in our general locality, East Columbia, Quincy, South District, and Sunnyside, they all have their general manager and their accountant sign their checks. They do all of that. The board doesn't sign any checks. So it was made out at a previous meeting that, you know, the board should be involved. Well, I see nothing wrong with that. I just think it's wrong that we now micromanage the signage of the bills, and therefore, as at the last meeting, I did not leave during the executive session. I left after the executive session because I chose not to sit here and do the work of a secretary or administrative assistant. And I will do the same tonight. I will not sign the checks. You too can do your little thing and sign the checks and handle it any way you want.
Okay, thank you, Ron.
So you're welcome.
Yeah.
Going along the same line, I don't feel it's micromanaging. I think it's being responsible for our taxpayers, so I'm gonna stay.
Well, we were responsible before the way we had it, so.
Okay. We will adjourn the meeting other than approving the bills when we get said and done here. But you're welcome to stay here, and we will not be adjourning until we approve the bills. Yeah, Bill?
question, you have a stack of bills in front of you, is there a total on them? Or that you might report for the minutes?
Can I just ask a question as a public person? How do you keep track of money for your taxpayers, about what's being spent? I mean, where it's going, what it's for? Do you report? No, but as a board, I mean, how do you guys keep track of that? Or,
It's kept by the administrative assistant, and we have access to it at any time.
We provided this spreadsheet on the normal meeting. This is an extended meeting, this was already taken care of in the last meeting.
for the last 3 meetings?
Well, during the campaign, I said I would be taking care of taxpayers' monies like it was my own. And I would not allow my staff and one other person that I would require that 2 people from the board would actually do it. So I'm going along with this year. I think this is a check and balance system, and I think it's up to our responsibility to make sure that it gets done. And it takes a little time to get it done. Sorry, Ron, I don't want to tie you up because you've already got your $90 for meeting tonight, and by golly, I know that the longer it runs, the less per hour you make.
Go ahead, dig a little deeper, Mick. Dig a little deeper.
Just a quick math, about 16,000 there.
Just a minute, I'm gonna.
That conversation, Mick, has spurred a question in my mind. It wasn't called an internal audit, but the
Special procedures?
Yes. Any progress in that area?
Well, they've had to stop. They had a problem getting the information. Julie was on vacation for a couple of weeks, and then she was ill for a couple of weeks or whatever the time was there. So that brought it to a stop, and then now they've gotten busy with all the taxes until April 15th. And so after April 15th, then I would say probably within a few days after that, we'll probably start seeing something coming in. Ron?
And he forgot to mention the number of times that Mr. Newhouse didn't show up for his appointments too.
I don't know about that. I just know that there was a problem trying to get the information he wanted from the right person here. And Mike?
What's the bank statement say?
What's the bank statement say?
Yeah, we're supposed to hear how much money you got in the bank.
Well, I went through the figures back here and I don't know if I can find it.
That was part of our deal here.
I don't know if I can find it in a hurry here or not, but I did see it earlier here.
I guess I'm like everybody else, I'm kind of scratching my head. Let's find out what we got in the bank.
Well, we started out,
We should know.
At the start of the year, we started out with close to $150,000. And at this point, there's been a number of entries made in it.
Might ask her if you can up
I don't know if any one here knows. I didn't find it under this.
Of what?
what we're talking, what he's asking for.
Well, you're asking me something that was done at the last meeting. Or I didn't even see the agenda till I showed up here, so you're asking me questions, I can't just pull this stuff out of my rear end, sorry.
I'm just asking.
Well, I guess my question was asked, how much are these vouchers for that you're gonna sign tonight?
I just did a rough math, just kind of, just a quick review, and I may not be real close, but I'm guessing around 16,000 there.
Okay. I mean, it'd be nice to have an idea.
Yeah. At a regular meeting, I think we're gonna end up with some kind of a spreadsheet that'll break it down for us.
Well, there was a spreadsheet in here that kind of showed. You know where it's at? Julie, do you know where it's at in here, that spreadsheet that showed?
Just for clarification, I will answer your question. We're scheduled to have one meeting per month, and that is the second Tuesday of every month. At that meeting is when, on the consent agenda, if you'll look back at one of the original agendas, okay, that was put out for that meeting, there's a consent agenda with dollar amounts on there. The board passed over that last week and signed the checks that were presented. That consent agenda was never approved, okay? There was a reconciliation, bank reconciliation placed in the binder for them to look at. That wasn't brought up last time, but also at the last meeting, I was told not to open any bank statements and reconcile them anymore before meetings. So the next bank statement will come maybe before the April meeting. And it will be right here on the table for that first meeting on the second Tuesday. Okay? So once a month, the consent agenda does the approval for the previous month, because they've already signed the checks, they've already written their approval on the invoices, and that's how it rolls. Okay? Does that help explain a little bit? This is a continuation meeting.
Does that mean the income statements will be now a month behind? Because there will be no reconciliation?
There'll be no reconciliation for the board. The
So
current board
our
members.
financials then that you guys report to the public will be now a month behind as well? Right?
Well, we don't monthly report to the public, I'm not sure exactly.
All I mean is the income statements, the documents, the financials you're handing off to the directors now will be technically 30 days behind because of that.
Basically.
But that was pointed out earlier, and there was no importance given to it.
Well, let me, I did find the summary here. January 31st, like I say, we started out the start of the year with 150,000, and then checks and payments, deposits and credits, we had $304,000, 680 for checks and payments on that month. We deposited and had credits for 350. Total cleared transactions is 46,000, which left us a clear balance of 196,000. And then we went to checks and payments, 51 items, deposits and credits. There's $170,000 worth of checks and payments, which left us with a new transaction of 130,000 and an ending balance of 41,000. So we started out at 150,000 and we ended up with 41,000 at the end of January.
And excuse me, Mr. Chairman, may I interject that some of that insurance reimbursement was sent back to the county. Anything that comes in that's
Julie,
not
this is what we don't have in
Okay.
front of us. I mean, we got
But this is what I was trying to explain to you and kind of graphically show you here. So everybody knows, anything that's not, any penny that's not collected through the county treasurer as an assessment that we get in, and that means funneling of insurance monies and different things like that, I have to send back to the county. That's why some of these checks and payments are high. I sent a huge chunk back to the county. Why some of the payments, I had to pay out 91 grand plus.
Tell us what it is, and then it makes a lot more sense. But to come in here and find it,
Almost 192 grand went back. I paid out, went back 100,000 of that.
Yeah.
It's all insurance reimbursement from the pump station finishing up and the partial sinking of the dredge. I'm through with that now. Those two things have all gone back to the county. So you saw that money flow in and out in January.
yeah, but
It's just that
give us
simple.
give us those numbers. Give us what they went to, and then we'll get off your back on it because just seeing these beginning balances and end balances.
Well, this is a reconciliation. That's what it
I
is.
realize that, and that's why we want to see more than that. We want to see what happened here and
Makes sense.
clue us in on what all this money that's going back and forth is what's happening here.
Wouldn't that be-
I don't want to find out that we're $1 million over budget at
This
the
is
end
the
of the year.
first time you've asked me to do it in that format.
Well, I'm asking that we have them either signed here in front of us, and so we have a balance sheet that we know what we signed off, or we have something here that tells us where the other ones went to. If it's in and out deal, then give us that information, because
Well, Mr. Hansen, how can she do that if she's not even seeing the statements?
if she's what?
She's not seeing the statements before you, how can she give that information to you before she sees the statements?
No, it's never reached accounting. It's never reached the QuickBooks, which is what I think she uses for accounting. And just a point of clarification on it. is all.
Yeah, well, we're just asking for some accounting of what's going on here. We're almost into April here, and I still have no idea what happened to this $325,000 that's floating around out here. Obviously, some of it went back to the county.
What I'm
and-
telling you is not floating around. For you to tell the public that we spent that much money is very incorrect. We haven't spent that much
Well,
money.
I'm just looking at
It's called
this.
cash flow. We deal on a cash basis here.
Yeah, okay, good.
That's
I'm
all.
not accusing you of anything, I'm not saying anything's wrong here, I'm just saying that I want to be educated on what's happening here.
Okay, and
kept up to
we worked on that one day. I'm happy to do that again, to show you.
No,
But
but I mean-
let's make sure that when we throw numbers out publicly, we know what we're talking about, rather than just throwing
Well,
numbers out.
I'm reading it off of this, and so tell me where it's going, whatever. We got a nice pile here tonight, and it's probably very small compared to what we actually have spent for the month, but,
Why do you say things like that?
Ron, before I got in here, there was an average of $100,000 a month going out of this place.
That kind of stuff.
We don't know.
And here we got 5,000 or roughly that last month, and I'm,
You know, if you can prove some of these things, that's one thing, but just to make a felonious statement of that,
I don't think that we've cut that much out of the budget here, to think that we've only got,
Look, nobody understands Hansen Accounting
well,
101.
I know,
It's
Ron.
difficult.
I'm just being asking that we be kept up to grade here, what's going on here. I know that you did a hell of a job keeping track of it.
Just out of curiosity, what financials, you know, I know what QuickBooks is capable of doing, so what financials do you guys get in your package? Do you get a balance statement, balance sheet, income statement?
That's the closest thing I've seen to it so far.
No income and expense, I mean, I would expect if I come to these meetings every month, I would expect to have that as a taxpayer.
Well, I would like to think that we're gonna have something in here that accounts for it.
Well, I know, but they can still say what they've spent and what's money's
Jerry?
come in.
Chairman, I hope my remarks earlier weren't taken as a disrespect to the board, and you have my best wishes. But you're a shoot from the hip type of guy. And Ron is more of a detailed man. Well, but you guys have to knock some edges off to work together, and I hope we can do that.
Well, I think we're going to get into the less controversy as we go along here. Undoubtedly, there's been 50 changes made here in a matter of 3 months. And so, yes, we're knocking heads, and hopefully we all have the same goal in mind, and that's to work for the taxpayer out here. And I feel that we need to have checks and balances into our system.
Exactly.
And I want to see them. I just want to see this stuff. I'm not trying to be ornery about it or anything else. I just think that we need to have a check and a balance system. And when we have the manager signing the checks and Ron coming in and signing the rest of the checks, and we don't see a check here for the whole month, have nothing more than a consent agenda that says we just spent $105,000 or $110,000 or maybe $85,000 on a good month, that's not going to happen.
We all need to be involved.
There's some terrible problems here that have to be resolved between staff and the board and the taxpayers.
Right. Well, for the time being, Bill?
Did you adjourn or not?
No, we haven't adjourned until we sign this. But if you guys want to go, all we're going to do is approve the bills. And so I kind of made it obvious that the meeting's basically done other than calling the bills paid. Or,
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Let's go.
Thank you for joining us tonight. You're watching iFIBER Channel 1. We are actually ending before your schedule here, so we are going to go to black. We will bring up our regularly scheduled program. Thank you for being an ITV subscriber. Thank you for being an ITV or an iFIBER customer here. ITV, what am I talking about? But you folks have a great night, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah,